that work? It's going to fall. Is this clip right here?
Just click in there. Yeah, that's perfect.
Can you hear me? Good? Maybe.
Try again.
Maybe not.
Yes, perfect.
Okay. Oh, where's the clicker? This. Okay.
Okay, our last speaker here today is Meghan Austin. I remember Meghan E when you were in my class. So Meghan is with Cindale Farms in Marianna, Florida. She has an animal science undergraduate degree from UF and moved on to get a DVM from UF as well. You've been back at the farm since 2009, and you're going to tell us what you're doing out there. And you also serve on a variety of advisory boards in the Florida dairy industry. So Meghan is somebody to be to reckon with. So with that, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Dr. DeVries, and thank you for the committee for having me. It's really an honor to be back and speaking with you guys. We do things a little bit different up in the Panhandle. I don't know if any of you have ever visited the Florida Panhandle, but if you have, we're a little different up there, and you guys will see some things that I do a lot differently maybe than on your farm. So hopefully maybe you can learn something, or if nothing else, just enjoy the pretty pictures. But I'm going to take you through essentially a quick farm tour and then move on into our creamery. As Dr. Jones mentioned earlier, I'd fit us within kind of the niche segment of the dairy industry. And then after I talk about our creamery, I'm just going to give my insight into kind of where I feel the marketing end of milk comes into play. Before I start, I can't start without thanking these people. This is my family. My parents allowed for my sister and I to always think outside the box and always question the status quo. So they're a big part of why I'm here. And then also my husband, who's holding down the farm while I'm gone. And then, of course, the guys at the farm that are our team, and just like your teams at your farms, you can't accomplish anything without these great people. So they're a wonderful asset to us. Just a little bit about where we are. As I mentioned, we're in the Panhandle. Most people just pass through on their way either going west or east, and usually stop in Jackson County for cheap gas, because apparently we have the cheapest gas in the Panhandle. But we're in Marianna, Florida. Our farm actually sits about 10 miles from both the Alabama and Georgia state lines. Our county is #1 for row crop production in the state, but we don't have a big dairy industry there. We only have 3 dairies, and we're one of those 3. Not a huge population center, just over 48,000, but we are in close proximity to large populations in Tallahassee, roughly an hour to our east, Panama City in the Gulf Coast region, roughly about an hour, hour and a half, and then Pensacola about an hour 45 to our west. So I'm going to go through a little bit of background on the farm. And I do have a lot of slides. I apologize. I thought I was going to have 45 minutes, so I'm going to condense it down as much as possible. So if I start talking too fast, y'all just wave at me. My parents, Dale and Cindy, have been in the dairy industry for 37 years. They were first-generation farmers. Both of them grew up in the city in Pensacola, and my dad developed his love for dairying by visiting his uncles and grandfather's farms in Illinois. In 1994, they were kind of given a new beginning. My dad was a manager, and they were minority owners of a large herd in Jefferson County. And when that family decided to sell, they had to decide what to do next with their careers. Knew they enjoyed dairying and wanted to continue to do so. Obviously, they didn't have a lot of equity at the time, so they started by leasing facilities. And we leased a small facility in Cindale, Florida, just to our west. And initially, all the work was done by my parents. In 1996, we have the opportunity to move to Marianna to a larger facility, which we also leased. That allowed us to grow the herd size and increase our labor force. And then by 2003, they'd built up enough equity to purchase their own land and build their own facility. This piece of property is not necessarily one that a dairy farmer would run to and be like, ooh, that's a great spot of land for a dairy. It's a mixture of pasture, hardwood forest, timber, and wetlands. My parents enjoy being outdoors, and this was a place that they really felt that they could live for the rest of their lives, and dairy as well. And just a quick picture of some of the natural beauty on the farm. Just like each of you, our natural resources are a huge asset to us, and we do as much as we can to protect them. So I'll kind of review the last 7 years since Brad and I returned. We're kind of new to this gig, I guess, still. I don't know that I'll ever figure everything out, so we're still trying to figure things out. But we spent many good years here at UF. And then when we returned to the farm, my parents, as I mentioned before, are very outside-the-box thinkers, so they were very open and warm and inviting to any ideas that we might want to impart on the farm. As you guys will see, we're not necessarily the most ideal facility. We don't have a freestall facility. So when we came back, we wanted to focus a little more on intensive grazing. We wanted to switch up the genetic base of the herd. My parents had primarily milked Holstein. My dad swore he'd never milked another Jersey in his life. As Dr. Jones said, they're very good at opening gates. But my husband and I really felt that type of cow fit our facilities and our plans for the future better. So we switched to breeding everything to Jerseys. And we also wanted to focus on seasonal calving. We are a small farm, and that allowed for kind of us to manage certain aspects of our production more efficiently by being seasonal. And also, because we don't have a freestall barn, allowed us to manage around the heat stress of the summer. And then, of course, we wanted to assist with the goals of becoming more involved with the local community. My parents were both very involved, and Brad and I wanted to follow along in that tradition. So for management, from late 09 to 14, they were shared between my parents and my husband and I. And then in August of 2014, we had a management transition, which I'll discuss more when I get to the creamery. And Brad and I became the primary managers at the farm. So I'll go through some farm basics. Like I said, 467 acres. I'd refer to us as a hybrid rotational grazing operation. We have 75 acres under center pivot around our farm, around the buildings. Not really enough to truly graze, but we make do. We have 550 plus cattle, 300 of those being our milk cows, which are primarily Jersey and Jersey Holstein crosses, and the remainder young stock. Just kind of an example of our cow type. When we came back, our average herd size was about 1,400 pounds. We're just now finally getting a real consistent size to our cows, and I'd say we would average out about 1,100 pounds, 1,100 pounds body weight. And just some pictures of our breeding age heifers. So just for the barns, we have the main barn is a double 12 parallel rapid exit parlor. This facility has break room, storage room, milk room, and working facility. We also have a feeding, cooling, you call a loafing barn with external feed alleys, a 6-bay commodity barn, and then a 2-stage wastewater management system, one being a partition concrete line separator, which effluent gravity flows to an effluent lagoon, which then can be sprayed on our pastures. Milking barn to the right, and then the feed barn there behind it, and then the pastures out to the sides. Just cows in our feed barn, another picture of that. I like pictures, guys, sorry. And then our milking parlor. Like I said, a hybrid grazer, that wouldn't be something I'd recommend people do, but it fits what we are trying to accomplish and fits our facilities. So we do feed a TMR. We're able to rotationally graze the majority of the year to offset some of our purchased forage inputs, and then we purchase additional ones that are needed. As I mentioned, 75 acres under center pivot. We do run a managed intensive rotational grazing system. We run both perennial and annual pastures. So half of our pastures are in a perennial Tifton 85 in the summer, and the other half we oversee with crabgrass and millet. And then in the winter, we overseed everything with a combination of triticale, ryegrass, and oats. We do employ conservation tillage across the farm. Our external fencing is high tensile with poly wire, internal fencing to allow for paddock size adjustments as forage availability changes. And just some pictures, pretty pictures of cows on grass. All right, reproduction-wise, we don't do anything fancy. We utilize both AI and natural service. We AI on natural heats for the month of January, and then bulls go in from February to mid-April. Our main breeding season is that January to February mark, and we keep all of our replacements during that time. We have enough replacements that we do run a second season, which initially that was just kind of to transition to seasonal, but we've kept that second season, one, for cash flow reasons, and two, because of our creamery's needs during the summer. But we try to have a minimum number of cattle within that season, and we sell all the calves during that second season. Calf raising, as you can see, we have really snazzy equipment around here. They are housed in groups on grass paddocks based on age. They'll start in a training pen. And we feed a constant access acidified milk, running around 1.5 to 2 gallons. This is the first year we've done this system. We've been group raising for 7 years, but prior to this had just utilized a milk bar feeder, feeding milk twice a day. That in itself took an adjustment from individual pens. This has taken another level of adjustment, still group raised, but we obviously don't have a means to detect how much consumption we're getting. So it takes a really keen eye on monitoring those calves closely. And then we wean at 8 weeks with a gradual weaning program. And we've got roughly 7 paddocks. This was just an underutilized piece of our property that we set up to house group calves, and then we overseed it when we planned our winter pastures. So just kind of looking for a vision for the future. Obviously, we want to always, regardless of the business, enhance your sustainability. We wanted the ability to support additional family units, which we did when Brad and I came back. We also wanted to optimize our land use while enhancing our beautiful environment. And then one thing that my family really wanted to focus on was establishing a connection to our local consumers and our local economy. Obviously, we were involved with the local economy and our local kind of neighborhood, but we wanted to go a step further. People, we'd been there multiple years and they had no idea that the dairy was there. We sit back off the road, so we're not overly noticeable. So we really wanted to have that conversation. So for us, of course, we were at a size that we felt we needed to do one of 2 things: either get bigger or diversify. And diversification really fit our goals and our ideas for the future. So this was kind of the birth of our new business, and really kind of for us thinking outside the box. We didn't want to be your run-of-the-mill creamery from a farm. We really wanted to set ourselves above the standard. So a little bit on the background of that. And the 2010, 2011 is really when we started thinking about, okay, where are we going to be in the future? What does this look like for us? And what can we do to establish that connection to our local consumers? And so for us, ice cream was a no-brainer. Who doesn't love ice cream, first of all? I've met a few people. And it's very approachable. And for at least me personally, I don't think I'm patient enough to make cheese and I need all the profits. So ice cream was really the way for us to go. My sister, who is younger than I, she graduated here from UF as well with a food and resource economics degree. And at the time, she was working for a small winery in North Carolina, kind of interested in maybe doing something different. And her husband had just left the Marine Corps. And so they, of course, were involved with this decision-making process with us and agreed to come home and kind of head start the creamery. So she, with her background in marketing, came up with kind of all our brand, essentially, and then our marketing ideas. She went to 2 ice cream short courses because, of course, none of us knew how to make ice cream aside from that in our freezer, at the house. Then there is a tremendous science and a lot of chemistry that goes behind actually making a good ice cream. So she attended Penn State's ice cream short course, which is a week-long short course, and also went to Wisconsin's short course, which is a weekend short course, and began to learn that science. And while she was there, she spoke to the professors at both, kind of told them what we wanted to do and asked for their input, and they literally told her that we were absolutely out of our minds. We wanted to make a product that really highlighted milk, because obviously that's what we care about. We wanted a product with minimal additives. We wanted a product that also didn't have to be homogenized, because we didn't want the expense or the upkeep of having to purchase a homogenizer. And they literally told us it would be extremely, if not impossible. So I don't know if it's credit to my parents' outside-the-box thinking or just our stubbornness, but my sister made it work, but it took her nearly a year to perfect the actual ice cream recipe. And then we began our first sales in February of 2013. So kind of a review of the last 4 years for us. The first year was just establishing a viable market. We did that through building relationships. We really wanted to build a relationship with our customers. So my sister went to primarily chef-owned restaurants and independent grocers, took our product, let them taste it, and told them our story, and it sold. And then really after that first year, we haven't had to do a whole lot of marketing beyond that. It has sold itself by word of mouth. Our first year out, she was also crazy enough to enter a national award in a national publication, Garden and Gun magazine. I don't know if any of you have ever read it. It's a pretty snazzy magazine. It just essentially features things in the South. And they have an annual award called Made in the South Award, which they ask for artisans all across the South to send in products. They have 5 different categories. They'll select a winner from each category, and then 3 kind of first, second, and thirds behind the winner. And then from the winners of each 5 categories, they select an overall winner. Our first year out, we actually were selected as the overall winner. We got a full spread with our ice cream and then a large article about both the farm and the ice cream. So that immediately shot us into the national limelight just from entering that contest. And then it brought up shipping headaches. We had people all over the country wanting our product, and so we attempted shipping for a few months. For a small company, first year out, it proved to be a little bit of a logistical nightmare. So we do not currently ship, but it might be something that we will do in the future. There's still a long line of people who are waiting whenever we do start shipping again. In 2014, we just continued to expand the market. We expanded our production facility twice. We went through a management transition. So my sister and brother-in-law, as I mentioned, my brother-in-law had been in the Marines, and he was a pilot. So while he enjoyed making ice cream every day, it didn't really kind of compare to flying helicopters and airplanes. So he wanted to go back into being a pilot and couldn't find a job locally. So they made the hard decision to step away where he could get a job. And that allowed my parents to move over to manage the farm the creamery full-time while Bride and I managed the farm, which I don't know if any of you are going through transition periods with different ages on your farm, but that allowed for a very swift transition. My dad would never retire, and he used to joke that we needed to put electric fence up all around the field so he'd just bump into it when he couldn't see and hear. But this has been a nice transition for him, kind of a pseudo-retirement. That year, we were also recognized by the Florida Cabinet for our win in Garden and Gun. We received an Agricultural Innovator Award from our county, and then we were featured in Food and Wine's blog for one of their top 7 holiday ice creams. So through 15 and 16, we just continued to expand our market while maintaining our quality. So because our product is such a high quality, we really had to meter our growth and make sure we don't outgrow ourselves too quickly and sacrifice that quality. So we've had a very purposeful, slow growth. Last year, we had to turn away 50% of the people that actually came to us asking for our product on a wholesale level, which is hard to do, but it needed to be done because we just didn't have the time or energy to put into making that high of a quality product at that level. And then in 15 and 16, we were selected as Southern Living Magazine's Food Award winner for 2 different flavors. So what's in store for this year? We just purchased a standalone building in January. I'll discuss a little bit later. We're currently in a leased facility. This will allow us to double our production capacity. We can continue expansion of our market reach, and then also expand into the scary realm of retail. So just some creamery basics. We are a handcrafted artisanal ice cream. We do everything small batch. As I mentioned, we don't homogenize. We try to locally source any of the ingredients that we can from local producers. And we have sales in over 38 locations. This is the current facility that we're in. So when we started the creamery, one of the big decisions we had was where to put the facility. Do we build on farm? Do we situate it off farm? Do we build off farm? You know, all of those decisions that you come to when you're doing something like this. And for us, when we started, we wanted to be as easy to leave as possible, because we had no idea if we'd even sell a pint of ice cream. So we didn't want to put a brick and mortar building up on our farm and then not have it succeed. So we started by leasing a facility. This is an old peanut warehouse that a construction company owns, and they renovated half of it for us, for our kitchen production facility and kitchen, and then our office space. This is just an example of our actual pints, which if you guys want to look at any of this afterwards, you're welcome to. I'll have them up here. Let me put myself back together. So on the top left, I'm pretty loud, so I don't even know if I need it. But on the top left are our sizes. So we primarily sell most things wholesale in the pints, the smaller one. The one to the left is a quart size. There's a restaurant group in Orlando that likes quarts for their chefs, so they utilize the quart. And then the gelato pan at the bottom is a 1.3 gallon gelato pan, and the majority of chefs will sell it as in that size. The original labels up here were ones that we did completely in-house for financial reasons mainly. So we printed the labels in-house. Initially we were handwriting all of the labels. While it looked nice, it was very labor intensive. So just this year we have switched to the pre-printed labels. We've had about half the people that love them, about half the people that hate them. But they're staying because they're way more efficient for us. Just a quick kind of overview of the creamery itself. Nothing fancy. This is our kitchen space here. We do any of our add-ins here, so essentially anything that we buy that we put into our ice cream. So any of the products that we have, we don't just buy a caramel flavoring and put it in. We actually take the sugar, caramelize it on the stove, add that back into the ice cream mix. So all of that happens here. There's a small tabletop ice cream maker where we test all of our batches. And this is the production facility itself. This equipment here is micro dairy equipment. This is a small batch pasteurizer. We actually mix up the ice cream mix in this and then pasteurize it. After that, it's pumped over to one of 2 aging tanks. We leave the mix in the aging tanks for a minimum overnight so that the flavors can meld together. And then after that, it's poured into our batch freezer, which is actually the ice cream maker. Very similar to an ice cream maker that you have at home, except it's turned on its side. There is a dasher, which is not in the picture, just like a homemade ice cream maker, that scrapes the frozen product off the side walls. After it comes out of the ice cream maker, it's a soft serve consistency, so it's not totally frozen. It's perfectly fine to eat at that point, but for storage and shipping and for mouthfeel later on, we want to make sure and get that as frozen as possible, so we put it in a blast freezer, which takes the product to about -30, and we leave it in there for a minimum of 24 hours. And then it's moved to a walk-in freezer. This is really our limiting capacity right now. We can fill that ice cream freezer up in a few days and empty it out in a week, and then start the process all over again. So at our new facility, we'll really be able to expand our storage. So kind of a vision for the future for both. For the farm, potentially continued diversification, enhancing the utilization of our fresh local milk. For the creamery, continue to expand our market while really staying true to our vision and our brand and who we are. Product diversification, and then also venturing into retail. So kind of what I think are maybe opportunities and challenges. This is more specific towards the end product. But as I discussed earlier, when we were talking about where we would go into the future, obviously we had to decide to get bigger or do something different. And we agreed that our size farm would be obsolete in 10 years. I really feel that that's been fast forwarded. And of course, whatever that idea was for us, it had to fit our goals and our desires as both a family unit and a profitable business enterprise. So I really feel we all need to challenge ourselves to think outside the box if we want to continue to dairy. Obviously, on the dairy side, we're really good at that. We've done, as we've shown today, marvelous things. And we're obviously all very good at producing really high volumes of milk. But if we continue to do so in the face of decreasing demand for our product, where are we going to be in 10, 5 years? A lot of us might not be here. So obviously we don't sell milk, we don't farm like we did 30 years ago, so why do we continue to sell milk the same way? Just a few quotes. The middle one, I never thought I'd be quoting Bill Clinton, but it is, I really enjoy it. The price of doing the same old thing is far higher than the price of change. So I feel that we need to be innovative and continue to challenge the norm on the dairy aisle. We've begun to see progress in this area. I mean, look at Fairlife, for example, but I think we really need to see more. And I think it's a true opportunity for farms of all sizes. I think it's almost a necessity for smaller farms if you want to continue long term. But I really think even for larger farms, if it's something that you're willing to be innovative in and to have the people that are dedicated to it, I think it's a potential. And we really need to get out of our comfort zone. How do we accomplish that? By thinking outside the box, but also by having meaningful, open, and transparent conversations with consumers. Today's consumers, for the most part, want to know where their food comes from, how it's produced, and why we do what we do. So let's use this to our advantage. I know lots of you have farm tours already. I'm not saying this is something that you need to do. Obviously, it's a wonderful way to allow the consumer to see what we do. But even if you don't do it, I think it's a good lesson for you to think through the potential of having a consumer come on your farm that has no idea what you do on a day or why you do what you do. If it makes you uncomfortable at all to show any aspects of your production, you might need to rethink how you're doing it, or either come up with a really good reason that's justifiable to the consumer. And I think that's something really important for us to think about, for all of us, regardless of size. So I'll just kind of wrap up with this. Don't be afraid to try something new. You might do the same old thing every day, but maybe there's a better way that doesn't hurt your head so much. And I just, once again, thank you for your attention. And I don't know if I'm taking questions or we move into...
You can, maybe a few questions, just specifically to...
Yes, sir.
Well, Meghan, one, congratulations. I've known your mom and dad for a lot of years. I won't rapid fire the questions, but I hope you have a blog. I was in Pawhuska, Oklahoma last week. How many of you know Reed Drummond? How many of you know the Pioneer Woman? It's kind of like gardening guns. It's one of the greatest things in North America right now. A lot of people hadn't heard of it. Reed Drummond is a local lady like yourself who had an idea, and she's just converted the downtown Mercantile building into a business that has 6,000 people a day visiting Pawhuska.